What is up, everybody? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's been a long time. It's been 1 year, basically. Last time I made a video, I did my 2022 March Madness predictions, and I picked Kansas, and they won it all last year, so that was a pretty good pick on my part. Otherwise, I had picked Villanova to go to the Final Four. They went to the Final Four. I picked Gonzaga. They didn't make it. Duke made it out of their region. And I had also picked Murray State, and North Carolina made it out of that region. But I got 2 out of the 4 right. And believe it or not, this video that I'm doing now is my 2023 March Madness predictions. Yep, that's right, my 2023 March Madness predictions. And I'm hoping to go 4 out of 4 this year. And we'll see if I can even get one game right to have a perfect bracket for my first game right, because last year I picked the first game wrong and I didn't even have a perfect bracket for one game, but I think I might be able to do that this year. We'll see. Let's hop into the video. So, as I said, I'm going to be making my 2023 March Madness predictions. But I already made my March Madness bracket already. This is the bracket. This is my official bracket. It's Gritty Master 2.0, because last year I named it Gritty Master, and this year I'm naming it Gritty Master 2.0. If you want to join my my group, it's called the Perfect Bracket Squad. And it's got 24 people in it. But it's up to you if you want to join or not join. But I will get to my bracket here. I'm just gonna fill out the bracket that I had on the Gritty Master 2.0. So we'll start in the South region here with the round of 64. I've got Alabama over Texas A&M, Corpus Christi, or Southeast Missouri. And I think Alabama's a pretty good team. I think they can make a Final Four run. I'm not quite sure if they will, but they are a very good team, and they have a pretty decent path, a pretty easy path to the Final Four, so I think they could make it to the Final Four. And this is the first matchup of the round of 64 on Thursday at 11:15 in the morning, and I got West Virginia over Maryland. I think West Virginia is on a pretty hot streak right now. They're not, I wouldn't say they've won a lot of games in a row. They lost to Kansas in the quarterfinal of the Big 12 championship, but before that they had beaten Texas Tech and then also Kansas State at home and Iowa State on the road. But I'll have West Virginia in this game. And then we got San Diego State versus Charleston, and they're in College of Charleston, excuse me. And I like Charleston here. San Diego State, I picked them a couple years ago to go to the Elite Eight as a 6th seed. That backfired very badly as Syracuse beat them in the first round. And San Diego State is a much better team, I think, than that year. Last year they were decent as an 8th seed. They lost to Creighton in the first round, but I think Charleston can upset San Diego State here. And although Charleston hasn't played many games, I think Charleston will pull this off. And a lot of people got Furman here. Well, not a lot, but a lot of people don't like Virginia in this matchup. And Furman is a pretty solid 13 seed, but I like Virginia here. I think they play at a very slow pace, but I do like them in the matchup against Furman. And so I would go with Virginia. Moving on here to Creighton versus NC State. And I got an upset here. I love Creighton's team. I love their starting 5. But they don't have a bench, and yet in March Madness, you don't really rely on your bench. But if your players get in foul trouble, you got no one to go to. So you gotta be able to have maybe 1 or 2 guys on the bench, and they just don't have that. And NC State, their bench isn't the greatest either, but I honestly like NC State better. They aren't as inconsistent as Creighton, and Creighton is pretty inconsistent. They had started out the year pretty good, then lost like 8 or 9 in a row before like winning a lot, going on a huge streak. Before then losing a couple of games, and they just, they're not consistent enough. I like NC State in this game. Now we got Baylor versus UC Santa Barbara. And I like Baylor in this game. Baylor's got a really good offense. Defense is kind of shaky, but I like Baylor in this matchup over UC Santa Barbara. Now we got Missouri versus Utah State. I like Utah State. Missouri, not the greatest defense, very solid offense. Doesn't turn the ball over. Missouri doesn't turn the ball over that much, and they also force a lot of turnovers. But I like Utah State in this matchup, and I think they'll get it done against Missouri. And now you got Arizona beating Princeton. Arizona, very good team, and I think they will get it done against Princeton. We'll move up to the Midwest here, and we got Houston over. I don't know why I picked Northern Kentucky there, but we got Houston over Northern Kentucky. And I think Houston's a well-rounded team. And I think that they should be able to go far in this tournament. Marcus Sasser should be 100% by Thursday. And I think they have what it takes to possibly win it all. I like Auburn over Iowa, especially since it's going to be in Birmingham. And honestly, I think Auburn is the better team here. They got a better defense. Iowa's got a solid offense, but they just don't have anything to show on defense. And I think that's going to cause trouble for them. And we got a 12-5 upset here. Drake is going to pull off the upset against Miami. Miami, I don't trust them at all. I know they made the Elite Eight last year, but I think that Drake is a solid team, very experienced team, and I think that they will pull off the upset against Miami. I also like Kent State here over Indiana. I think Kent State, or the 13-4 upset. I love Kent State. I love their team, and I think they've got a solid squad. Now, Indiana does have Tracy Jackson Davis, and Jalen Hood Shifno, I think that's his name. I think I pronounced that wrong, but I do like Kent State in this game. I feel like Kent State has the edge over Indiana. And in this matchup, the Iowa State versus either Mississippi State or Pitt, I like Pitt to beat Mississippi State, but I still like Iowa State to beat Pittsburgh. Moving on here, we got Xavier versus Kennesaw State, and I like Xavier. Kennesaw State, very surprising team. Heck of a job they've done. They had only one win a couple of years ago, and they've gotten that all the way to 26 wins. If I'm not mistaken, 26-8. But I do think they don't have the tallest guys, and I think they're undersized, and I think that'll backfire on them. Plus, I like Xavier's offense. Not the greatest defense, but I think they'll get past Kennesaw State. And this is a tough one. I wish they didn't get matched up with each other, Texas A&M and Penn State, that is. But I like Texas A&M over Penn State. I think Texas A&M got the better defense, and they've got better forwards. Penn State, kind of undersized, relies a lot on their guards. They've got great guard play, but I just don't think they have anything inside to get those rebounds. If Texas has got more size on them, and I think Texas A&M wins this game over Penn State. And I got Texas over Colgate. Colgate very good on the offense, but Texas, I think, will be able to shut them down on defense. Now we will go to the East region, where I got Purdue. I think Texas Southern will beat Fairleigh Dickinson, and I think Purdue will beat Texas Southern. I like Memphis over Florida Atlantic. Florida Atlantic, 31-3. I just don't like the fact that they haven't played many good teams, though, and I like Memphis over Florida Atlantic. Memphis is very hot right now, and I like Memphis. This is a very tough matchup here, Duke versus Oral Roberts. A lot of people like Duke. I'm going to go with Duke over Oral Roberts, but I honestly, it'd be kind of cool if Oral Roberts won the game. I'm not saying I don't think Oral Roberts is going to win. I definitely think they could beat Duke, but I like Duke over Oral Roberts. And I like the 13-4 upset here. I like Louisiana over Tennessee. Tennessee somehow finds a way every year to just not do well. They have had such good seed placement over the past years. They were a 3 seed last year, lost in the round of 32. 5 seed the year before, lost in the first round. 2 seed in the 2019 tournament, lost in the second Sweet 16, and then year before that they lost in the round of 32. I think they could beat Louisiana, but I honestly like the way I like how Louisiana is a good 3-point shooting team. I like Louisiana over Tennessee, and also Tennessee is missing one of their star players, so more of a reason for me to pick Louisiana. I like Kentucky over Providence. Providence is 1-5 when teams out-rebound them, and that's Kentucky's specialty. They got Oscar Tshiebwe. Pretty sure I butchered that name, but I like Kentucky over Providence. I like Kansas State here over Montana State. Kansas State turns the ball over a lot. They do force a lot of turnovers, and they also got Keontae Johnson, very good forward who can shoot the three pretty well, and overall is just a well-balanced player. And Marcus Newell is also a very good player too, and I think Kansas State should get past Montana State. Michigan State I like over USC. Cool stat, Big Ten teams are 30-1 if I'm not mistaken when they are the 7th seed in the last 31 games they played when they've been a 7th seed in the March Madness tournament. I like Michigan State anyways. I think Michigan State's got the edge over USC. And I like Marquette here over Vermont. Vermont, very good 15 seed, but Marquette can't. Shaka Smart has not won a tournament game in the past 7 tournaments, the last 7 tournament games, but I think he'll be able to win this one against Vermont. And now we got the West region here. I like Kansas over Howard. Kansas, very good team this year. Not as good as last year, I don't think, but they're still a very good team. I like Arkansas over Illinois. Arkansas, a very young team and a very skilled team, and I like them over Illinois. And a lot of people have Virginia Commonwealth University here over St. Mary's, but I like St. Mary's in the 5 winning the 5 versus 12. I think St. Mary's is a very well-rounded team. They got smacked by Gonzaga in their West Coast Conference Championship, but I think St. Mary's should be able to pull this off against VCU. I like UConn over Iona. UConn, very strong team this year, offensively and defensively. And I like Arizona. Well, first of all, Arizona State versus Nevada. I like Nevada in that, and then I also like Nevada to beat TCU. I think TCU is a very good team, but I like Nevada. I think they're a very decent team, and I think Nevada can pull off the upset against TCU. I like Gonzaga here over Grand Canyon University. Gonzaga, very good offensively. Not the greatest defensively, but GCU also isn't the greatest on defense either. And I think that Gonzaga should be able to pull off that against Grand Canyon University. I like Northwestern here, as I stated about that fact about the Big Ten and Michigan State. I like Northwestern's defense anyways. Boise State, decent team. I think Boise State could have been a 9 seed. Maybe. I think 10 seed actually is a pretty good placement for them. But I like Northwestern here with their defensive attack against Boise State. UNC Asheville, very tough 15 seed here, but they got a pretty bad matchup with UCLA. Even with UCLA missing Jalen Clark, I like UCLA in this matchup. We'll go up here to the South region, around 32. I like Alabama over West Virginia. West Virginia, very tough team to play against, but I like Alabama. Alabama should be able to take care of business against West Virginia. I like Virginia over the College of Charleston. Virginia, I think, will be able to slow the pace down enough, and Charleston will get frustrated by that, and they'll lose to Virginia. And I like NC State over Baylor. As I said before, now NC State doesn't have the greatest defense either. They have a little better of a defense, though, than Baylor. Baylor's defense is just horrific. I do not like Baylor's defense, and I think NC State will pull off the dub against Baylor. I feel like whoever wins the Creighton and NC State matchup should be able to beat Baylor in the round of 32. That is if Baylor wins their matchup against UC Santa Barbara. And I like Arizona here over Utah State. Moving up here to the Midwest and the round of 32, I like Houston over Auburn. Auburn, very tough team, but I think Houston should be able to pull off the win against Auburn. And I like Drake over Kent State. Drake, as I said, very well around the team. Kent State, very tough team to play against, but I think Drake should be able to beat Kent State. And I like Iowa State's defense here over Xavier. Xavier, not the greatest defense. Did play decent defense against Marquette, but also played horrific offense in the Big East, championship against Marquette. And I think Iowa State will be able to stifle Xavier's offense and shut them down. And as much as I want to pick Texas A&M, I think Texas should be able to get the job done against Texas A&M. Texas A&M very hot, but so is Texas. Texas just won the Big 12 championship against Kansas. And overall, they had a pretty good year. Moving on here up into the East region, where we got Purdue versus Memphis. And I like Memphis. I like the 8-1 upset here. I love Memphis. They are on a hot streak right now, and I think Memphis can beat Purdue. Not saying Purdue isn't a good team. Zach Edey, a very good player, but honestly, I feel if you take out Zach Edey, if you're able to shut him down, Purdue is decent, but I don't think they're a really good team without Zach. If you can, I'm not saying you gotta get Zach Edey and try to get Zach Edey in foul trouble, but just trying to shut him down on offense. And I think if you can do that, you should be able to beat Purdue. And honestly, Memphis is hot right now. I like Duke over Louisiana. Duke is a very young team, but I think they should be able to pull off the win against Louisiana. And a lot of people like Kentucky here over Kansas State. Kansas State, as I said, turns the ball over a lot, but they also force a fair amount of turnovers. And I really like their guard play, Marcus Newell, along with their forward in Keontae Johnson. I think Kansas State is a very slept-on team, and I like Kansas State here going into the Sweet 16. And upset city here in the South, I like Michigan State over Marquette. I think Marquette, I'm not saying they're frauds, but I'm not sold on Marquette, and I just don't like Marquette in this matchup, and I gotta go with my gut, and I gotta go with Michigan State here over Marquette. Moving up to the West here, I got Arkansas over Kansas. The last time a repeat champ is made in the Sweet 16 was Duke in 2016. Now, I'm not saying it couldn't happen. It definitely could happen. Kansas could definitely beat Arkansas, but I really like Arkansas' squad too, though. They don't shoot the three well, but they do got some great young talent. They got a great coach. They play solid defense, and I think they could shut down Kansas and beat Kansas here in the round of 32. I like UConn over St. Mary's. St. Mary's solid on defense, but UConn also solid, and I think Adamas Sinago, as well as, can't think of his name right now, but I really like UConn in this game. I like Gonzaga over Nevada. I like Drew Timme, very good, very solid player, and I think I like them moving on to the Sweet 16. And I like UCLA over Northwestern. Northwestern relies too much on their defense, and I feel like they gotta have some offense, and UCLA's got just as good of a defense as Northwestern, so I like UCLA in that game. Moving on to the Sweet 16 here in the South, I like Alabama over Virginia. I think that's where Virginia's end runs. Virginia, solid team, but Alabama just is going to be too much for Virginia. I don't think Virginia will be able to slow down this game as much as they want to, because Alabama is a very fast tempo team. And I like Arizona over NC State. Arizona, very good team. Does turn the ball over a lot, but so does Alabama. Both teams, I think, deserve to make the Elite Eight. So that would set up an Alabama versus Arizona Elite Eight matchup. I like Houston over Drake. Unfortunately, I think this is where Drake's end runs. I love Houston squad, as I said. Marcus Sasser coming back from injury. Very, very talented player. You got Jamal Shed, Tremont Mark. You got so many good players on their team, and I think that they will be able to get it done versus Drake. And I like Texas here versus Iowa State. I think Iowa State is very good against teams. It's almost like a recipe from last year. They were really good against teams outside their conference, but inside their conference, they were subpar. They would win some good games, but also lose some bad games too, and also tough games as well, because the Big 12 is one of the toughest conferences, or is the toughest conference, in my opinion, in college basketball. But I like Texas over Iowa State. And I got Memphis over Duke. A lot of people got Duke reaching the Elite Eight, even the Final Four, but I like Memphis over Duke. I think Memphis has got better experience with Kendrick Davis, and their forward, I can't remember the forward's name, but he's also a senior. Both are seniors. They got a lot of senior play on their starting five. Duke, very good team, but they only got one junior in their starting five. They have 4 freshmen, including Kyle Filipkowski, Filipkowski. He's a very good player, but I don't think Duke will be able to make it to the Elite Eight. And I like Kansas State over Michigan State. I think Kansas State, as I said, is a very good team. And I like UConn here over Arkansas. UConn, very well-balanced team, and I think that's where Arkansas's run ends. Now, I think Arkansas is a very good team. UConn, I just think, will be able to pull off not the upset, but I think they'll be able to pull off the win against Arkansas. And I like Gonzaga over UCLA. I think that presence of Jalen Clark will be missed for UCLA, and I think Gonzaga gets past UCLA in the Sweet 16 matchup there. And for a Final Four matchup, I got Arizona over Alabama in the Elite Eight, and I got Arizona to get to the Final Four. I think Alabama's a great team, but I love Arizona just a little bit more. I think that could be a toss-up there. I'm pretty sure that will be the matchup. Creighton could make the Elite Eight, though, too. I think that's the only other team I see, though, in the Elite Eight. But I see Alabama for sure in the Elite Eight, but I like Arizona over Alabama. And then in the Midwest region, I like Houston over Texas. I think whoever wins that matchup in the Elite Eight, I think that is the team who wins it all in March Madness. And I like Houston over Texas there. And unfortunately, this is, I think, where Memphis's end runs. I might get a lot of hate for this Kansas State pick in the Final Four, but I think they're a slept-on team, very underrated, and I know they lost their last 2 games at the end of the year, but they were both against tough teams. They're against TCU, and yeah, I do have TCU losing the first round, but I think TCU is still a very good team, and they also lost to West Virginia at West Virginia, who I have making it to the round of 32, but I like Kansas to beat Memphis. And then in the last Elite Eight matchup here, we got UConn versus Gonzaga, and I like UConn here over Gonzaga. Setting up a couple of matchups here in the Final Four, we got Arizona versus Kansas State, and we got Houston versus UConn. And I like Arizona here over Kansas State. I think this is where Kansas State run ends, like Arizona over Kansas State. And I like Houston over UConn. UConn, very good team, but I like Houston better in this matchup. And then your national champion, or at least my national champion, I like Houston over Arizona. And I think my tiebreaker in my main bracket was 75 to 68. And I'll submit these picks, but I'm going to change them later. I think I'm going to do another bracket with this. But this was my exact bracket on my Greenmaster 2.0 bracket. Let me know what you think about these predictions, and leave a comment down below of what you think about them. I think they're pretty solid, but maybe you guys have different opinions on my picks. That is all for this video. Please leave a like and subscribe if you could. And I hope you enjoyed watching my 2023 March Madness predictions.